The music industry is no stranger to stars gone too soon. The 1950s had a few young musicians who didn't make it past 30 but left a legacy during their tragically short lives. Keep watching for the youngest rock and roll deaths of the 1950s. Richie Valens, 17. Richard Steven Valenzuala was 17 when he died, but he'd already made a name for himself as Richie Valens. He was a self-taught musician. Starting at age 5, he was encouraged to learn guitar and trumpet, later picking up vocals and drums. While at school, he became better known by the other kids as the Little Richard of San Fernando, a name which piqued the interest of record label owner Bob Keane. Keane signed the musician to his label, telling him to go by Richie Valens to stand out from all the other Richards and to widen his appeal beyond his Hispanic surname. Valens was attending Pacoima Junior High when two planes collided mid-air above the school that day. Parts of the aircraft plummeted onto the playground. 2 students were killed instantly by the wreckage from the sky, and 1 died later in the hospital. Although the 15-year-old Valens was not at school that day, nightmares from the incident gave the boy a powerful fear of flying. Just 8 months into his music career, young Richie already had his first smash hit, La Bamba, which he had adapted from a Mexican folk song. While Valens grew up listening to traditional Mexican music like mariachi and flamenco guitar, English was the main language spoken in the Valenzuela household. Richie spoke almost no Spanish and learned the lyrics for La Bamba phonetically. Valens' second hit was Donna, written for high school sweetheart Donna Ludwig. Donna's parents had disapproved of her dating a Latino boy, but she didn't care. She loved Richie with all her heart, and he loved her. After Valens' meteoric success, the relationship between the two became strained, with the in-demand musician spending most of his time touring and performing. They agreed to spend as much time together as possible when Valens wasn't on the road. They stayed together until his untimely death. On February 3, 1959, Valens took a flight to Dakota along with other famous musicians on this list. He was only on the plane because he'd won a coin toss. He supposedly said, "That's the first time I ever won anything in my life." For reasons still unknown, the plane crashed soon after takeoff. There were no survivors. For that reason, February 3, 1959 is known as the day the music died. Buddy Holly, 22. Charles Hardin Holly was born into a musical family at the height of the Great Depression. Nicknamed Buddy since youth, he and his 3 older siblings learned to play guitar and sing. Holly's first TV appearance came in 1952 when he was 16. 3 years later, he opened for Elvis. That's when Buddy knew he wanted to become a full-time musician. He opened for Presley a total of 3 times in 1955, his band's style going from country and western to rock and roll through and through. Frustrated with a lack of creative control at his first label, Holly went on to record That'll Be the Day with producer Norman Petty in New Mexico. This was Holly's first major hit, topping the US and UK singles chart, and birthed his band, The Crickets. During that time, he had been dumped by high school sweetheart Echo McGuire, who left him for another student. But in 1958, while visiting the offices of a music publisher, he met Maria Elena Santiago. He asked her out during their first meeting and proposed to her on their first date. Holly's career went from strength to strength with tours of Australia and the UK, following a second appearance on the legendary Ed Sullivan Show. At the beginning of 1959, Holly formed a new band, including Waylon Jennings on bass, before his rise to country music stardom. While touring the U.S., Holly chartered a plane to take him, his band, and some other musicians from their last show in Clear Lake, Iowa, to their next performance in Moorhead, Minnesota. The plane crashed soon after takeoff, killing everyone on board, including Holly and guitarist and songwriter Richie Valens. Buddy was 22. Santiago, who was pregnant with her and Holly's first child, suffered a miscarriage when she discovered the news. She blamed herself. She had accompanied Holly on all his tours since they got together, but not this one, since she'd been feeling unwell. Hey, if you're enjoying this video so far, be sure to give it a like, and click below to become a Facts First member and get access to exclusive videos featuring mature content. Johnny Ace, 25. John Marshall Alexander Jr. was born in 1929 in Tennessee. He was the son of a preacher, but young Johnny didn't have much respect for the rules, dropping out of high school to join the Navy. Johnny was AWOL for most of his duty and was discharged, becoming a pianist back in Memphis. He became one of a group of locally known musicians called the Beale Streeters, which included soon-to-be legendary blues guitarist B.B. King. During this time, Johnny Ace met high schooler Lois Jean Palmer in 1949. He didn't tell his parents about the relationship until she became pregnant, prompting the pair to get married in 1950. In 1951, Ace and some of the other Beale Streeters got their big break, a chance to record with Ike Turner. After getting signed to his own record deal, Ace wasted no time, releasing 8 straight hits over a 2-year stretch, often touring with Big Mama Thornton. Ace had moved his new family to live with his parents, but they barred him from staying since he played blues music. As a result, Ace spent most of his time away from home, and his endless skirt chasing gave him little time to devote to his wife and 2 children. By 1953, he had abandoned them altogether. On Christmas Day, 1954, he was performing in Houston, Texas. He was taking a break between sets, playing with his .32 caliber revolver, as he often did when he was bored. Someone told Johnny to be careful, but he was confident he knew which chambers of the gun were loaded and which weren't. Holding the barrel to his head, he smiled and pulled the trigger. There was no time for Johnny's face to register his surprise when the gun went off. In February, his latest single, Pledging My Love, topped the Billboard charts for 5 weeks straight. Johnny Ace died at the height of his career, toppled by his own pride. The Big Bopper, 28. Giles Perry Richardson Jr. was the 3rd casualty of the plane crash on February 3, 1959, the day the music died. Richardson had an ordinary upbringing, playing high school football and studying pre-law in college. It was while studying that he fell in love with radio, working part-time for a station in Texas. He quit college after being offered full-time work there. Richard married and had a child soon before being promoted to supervisor of announcers. Richardson was then drafted into the military and returned to the same radio station 2 years later, taking over the dishwasher serenade slot, which lasted from 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Monday to Friday. He was then offered a show by the station. Seeing that the college students were doing a new dance called the Bop, Richardson called himself the Big Bopper. His new show ran from 3 to 6 p.m. and he soon became the small station's program director. In May 1957, the Big Bopper broke the record for the longest continuous live broadcast. He was on the air for over 5 days, breaking the previous record by 8 minutes. He played 1,821 records during the show and took showers during the 5-minute newsreels. The Big Bopper is also credited with the first music video, recording himself in 1958. He then began recording music he wrote, using the name Big Bopper to release raunchy, lighthearted songs, which often featured the Big Bopper character. Following the success of his record Chantilly Lace, the Big Bopper took some time off while planning the launch of his own recording studio and radio station at his home in Texas. He went on tour with Buddy Holly, Ritchie Valens, and others as a part of the Winter Dance Party tour. It was because of the horrendous bus journey during the tour that Buddy Holly decided to charter a plane for part of it. While the Big Bopper was not originally supposed to be on the plane, he complained about how cold the bus had been and how uncomfortable it was for someone of his size. Holly's bassist gave up his seat for the larger man. Their plane crashed after only a few minutes airborne. Reports after the fact revealed that the pilot was flying without proper visibility and may have believed he was going up when he was in fact going down. Long-standing rumors held that the crash happened accidentally due to a gunshot and that Big Bopper was actually alive after the plane initially hit the ground. Both rumors were put to bed after the Big Bopper's body was exhumed in 2007 and an autopsy was carried out. He had died instantly during the crash, along with Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, and the pilot. Now it's time to hear from you. Which of these deaths do you think was the most tragic? Let us know in the comments section below. And before you go, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to FactsVerse if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content.